It's Friday, April 12th, and it turns out the North American family portrait looks a little different than we thought it did. I was going through my YouTube subscriptions looking for any kind of fish-related news stories, trying to come up with a topic for Fish Geekery for this week, and I came across a video from the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. For a long time, the assumption was that the first Americans came from northeastern Asia, across the then frozen Bering Sea, into Alaska, and then down the west coast and spread across the country from there. The tools used by early North Americans and the tools used by Eastern Asians at the same time were very different from each other. North American tools were flaked on both sides and had this fluting pattern. Eastern Asian tools had like bone slivers attached to wooden rods. It was very different. Also, the mitochondrial DNA, which you get from your mother, and she got from her mother, and she got from her mother, back into whenever the last mutation happened, wasn't the same in North America and Eastern Asia. So they've been looking all up and down the West Coast trying to find where the connection happened, where the different tool types split off, where the different mitochondrial DNA came from. Maybe it was some kind of gratuitous mutation, I don't know. But they weren't finding the connections they needed. And then at a dig site in Virginia, they found a layer of the kinds of tools that they expect to find in North America, and then below that they found another layer of older tools that were similar technology but a more primitive version. It was flaked on both sides, but it didn't have the fluting. And the anthropologists got all excited because, yes, this is an ancestor! Finally! There's some kind of connection somewhere. And they didn't expect to find that on the East Coast, because we've been thinking this whole time they came from Asia and across the Pacific, or across the Bering. So why would we be looking on the East Coast? Turns out there are very similar tools and very similar mitochondrial DNA in Western Europe and Northern Africa. Now, in the last ice age, sea level was about 250 feet lower than it is now. That, combined with the expanded ice sheet, there could have been an ice bridge across the northern Atlantic. And boats have been around for thousands upon thousands of years. So people could come from Europe across the frozen northern Atlantic, and the people who had boats could just live near the ice-water interface and hunt for marine mammals and do pretty well for themselves. So it turns out we're not from Northeast Asia, we're from Western Europe and North Africa. I guess that means I'm gonna have to go reprint all the invitations for the family reunion. I better get on that. Good night!